volunteering easily led me to like discover things that I loved and what I didn't like. But I also did a lot of volunteering so that I could fill my resume. Oh, I don't think it's probably underrated. That's a controversial question.
Welcome to the Big Small Podcast, where I speak to adventurers, advocates, and authorities in nature, and we talk about the small things in life's big picture. I'm your host, Jaden Lunt, and in today's episode, we are talking to an ecologist, but more specifically, a fauna ecologist. Amongst other things, we talk about stings on the job and how you could save time on becoming an ecologist. She loves scuba diving and has a positive vibe to be able to brighten up anyone's day. Please welcome to the show my guest, Anai Louise. Anai, welcome to the podcast. It's really good to have you on. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Would you mind giving the listener and myself a bit of a quick breakdown of what you do right now for work?
Mm-hmm. So my name's Anai. I'm an ecologist. I work in Brisbane. Before that, I was a ranger working for Queensland Government. I've done some work on the Great Barrier Reef doing seagrass and coral health surveys as well. And I started it all doing a little bit of fauna spotter catching.
Fauna spotting and catching. Did you start in the company that I met you in?
I did start in the company that...
Fauna spotting?
Yeah.
Oh, Struth.
Yeah. It was like my second week, I think, and they desperately needed someone out in Esk. And Brian was like, "Oh, you've got a master's, you've figured it out.
Yeah,
you
were. Yeah. I think so far you're the only office chick in that position that has been in the field as well as behind the computer rocking them keys.
I couldn't just stay behind a computer though. Like, I didn't get into this to stay behind a computer.
No.
I like animals.
Yeah.
I want to be out like doing stuff with animals.
Yeah, okay. So, and with this ecologist, ecology, it's an ecologist, right? There's no extra terminologies for that?
So I'm a fauna ecologist.
A fauna ecologist,
so you get plant ecologists, which are botanists.
Yep, okay.
And then fauna ecologists. So I do the fauna side. So we have teams of two that go out into the field. So I'm with a botanist. They do the botanizing, and I do the fauna stuff.
The faunarizing.
Yeah. Which is great. It's really good. So
okay.
Yeah.
And what can you break down this fauna ecologist down? So you've got ecologists, and then that kind of splits off into fauna and botany ecology.
No, they're all ecologists.
Right.
And then you kind of have what you prefer doing. So I obviously prefer fauna, so that's where my interest takes me. So that's the sort of specialization that I've gone with. So my previous job before the one I'm in now was as an ecologist, but we were all fauna ecologists. So we went out and we just trapped animals.
Right.
To survey an area, not just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we also had a botanist on, so like a lot of ecology work is obviously knowing your regional ecosystems and knowing in Queensland how to do biocondition assessments and that sort of thing. So when you go out and do that, I can do all the what we call the structure and function of biocondition.
Okay.
So that's just like collecting data on different things. So tree heights.
Right. Tree heights.
Tree, diameters.
Yeah. And
that sort
how
of
do
thing.
you collect tree height information? Do you have to climb it or do you use a drone?
I wish I could climb it. I wish I could use a drone.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm a drone pilot now too.
Dead set.
Yeah.
Oh, smokes.
But no, we just have a fancy little Nikon. Oh my God, I always forget the name of it. Kilometer? No, that isn't it. Anyway, it's this fancy little contraption, and you look at like the middle of the tree, the base of the tree, and the top of the tree, and it gives you a mathematical equation and tells you how tall the tree is.
Is it kind of does it look like one of those triangular things that like all them
Yeah, I think it's
ancient...
trigonometry.
That sounds
something like that.
Where
I might
there's
sound
those
really dumb.
ancient boat drivers. I'll sound dumb too. The boat drivers from ancient times, and they've got like that. Yeah, they've got that triangle and the little circle in the middle, and they'll like put up at the sky and maybe
it might be.
It could be. Maybe it's just you. That's the sky one, and then you've got a ground one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a really easy way. You just like bang, bang, bang. I can tell, you get the median height for 5 different trees in an area in a plot, and that gives you the data you need for the entire area. So we times that to make it out to be a hectare, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other person I'm with, who is the botanist,
Right.
or plant ecologist,
Okay.
will go through the whole plot and just figure out every single plant.
Mm-hmm.
So every single grass that's on the ground, every single forb, every single tree.
Forb?
So like a little herb.
Right.
Yeah, like a non-woody plant.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that forb.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, we work as a team and do that, and at the same time, I'm assessing the habitat for any fauna that could potentially be around.
Mm-hmm.
So we go out and we look specifically for what could be there for EVNT species, so endangered, vulnerable, near threatened species.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll have a look, what's the hollows like? What's the ground layer like? Is there much woody debris? I'm looking for things that yakka skink could use, or gliders could use, koalas. What are the feed trees that are around? So, yeah. And then I go back to the office and we do a lot of data analysis.
Data analysis, that's the best.
Well, the plant person does that.
Oh, really?
'Cause I'm not a fan.
Sucked in.
She loves it. She
Really?
loves it.
That's the sort of person you want on your team.
Yeah,
Somebody who
yeah.
wants to do the data.
Oh, she
Yes.
loves it. And I'll go through and assess like the habitat quality, and we give it all data number scoring and stuff, and figure out if the property is good for what it needs to be used for.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we're talking about just before, but with this new job that you have, and with this environment specific wording, I cannot remember. Offsetting. Yeah, it's environmental offsetting.
Yeah.
What for those who may not know, what is environmental offsetting?
Mm-hmm. So at the moment, I'm working in offsetting. So we go out for companies, often gas mining is a big one, and you have to have a look at what the environmental values are for an area. So if a company is disturbing, say, a hectare of land, and it's got potential to have yakka skinks on it, or ornamental snakes, what else is really diamond firetails that recently got listed, so that sort of thing. We then have to find properties around Queensland, usually nearby, because it'll be the same sort of REs around, and assess them for whether they will have those same ecological values. And then we will go and check out these properties and make sure they actually have those values there. So we're not just saying there's glider habitat there and then there's not a single alder tree with a hollow. We actually go there and make sure that exists.
Which I hear there's some people that slack off, and
there are some
tick some
companies that can do that. Yeah.
But you're not one of those. You're one of the true ecologists.
The company I work for is amazing. Really, really brilliant. Leaders in the field in a lot of different things, and writing a lot of the methodologies for these sorts of tasks.
Even then down to that level as well.
Yeah. Well, my manager runs a lot of the training for everyone, all other companies, to do this like biocondition and regional ecosystem stuff. So amazing person to work under.
Yeah.
And learn from.
And you said you work in the Brisbane area specifically, just? No,
so mainly work in the Brigalow belt, actually. So it's a lot of work around Roma, going up from Roma. We do a little bit of work up near Mackay area at the moment as well, but most of my work's been around Roma lately.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
And so with this Roma, Brigalow, all these different environments that you're seeing and getting to experience with your bio buddy, what, if one comes to mind, what is a really cool experience that you've had with a piece of wildlife, whether it be you've caught it in a tub, like in one of those drop traps, pitfalls. Yeah, that sounds the same thing. With those pitfalls, or whether it be you're sitting down on a rock and then all of a sudden it's sunset and there's a herd of wallabies.
A mob.
Yeah, a mob. A gaggle.
In this job so far, I've had a few really cool bird experiences. I know birds are like the nerdy part of the ecology world.
It's real?
But yeah. But I always come back with some really, really cool bird experience. Like the last job I was on, I was just like wandering off doing some pig surveys, because we've got a monitor for feral animals.
Pigs,
So
yep.
yeah, I do like pig surveys and rabbit surveys and stuff. So that's just like wandering through 2 hectares and finding signs of pigs.
Yeah,
pretty
right.
much. And I always get distracted by birds because how can you not? And I found these plum-headed finches and zebra finches, and they just like accepted me in with them. So I ended up spending like 20 minutes just sitting there with these finches all over the ground. And
Just
then I
around
realized,
you?
Yeah, and then I realized I was meant to be working. And I
Really?
needed to get up and go do
Oh,
stuff.
that's good as. Accepted by bird life.
And then in my previous job before this, I was, again, a fauna ecologist, but it was working more in like finite resources. So it was a lot of gold mining and that sort of stuff. So we would go and do fauna surveys. So like you said, pitfall trapping. So pitfalls, elliots, camera trapping.
Elliots.
Elliot traps, the little like metal box.
Right.
And you bait them, leave them open overnight. Super unsuccessful if you're not in the rainforest. Every ecologist knows how awful they are.
Don't use Elliots.
You've still got to use them. You've still got to. It's like it's part of the generic fauna surveying.
Right. Okay. So yeah, Elliots, pitfalls.
Camera traps, and then funnel traps as well. So it's in this like generic T section design, and you have like the pitfalls along it, and then your funnels as well. So we have all those. We check them morning and night. So it's always the best checking those. It's like the funnest. Every morning, like you're like, oh, okay, cool. There'll be like some fat-tailed geckos in there because I was up in the Ironsley uplands. So I think the best one, my old colleague was like a huge herper, like frost on everything, snake and lizard. And he would only be interested if things were like rare to find, you know. Like, oh yeah, okay, another fat-tailed dunner. Another gecko. Yeah.
yeah.
And then one morning I found this like thing in this trap, and I'd never heard of it before. And it looked like a worm. And I pulled it out and like put it on the lid of the pitfall and like put some water on it and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this isn't a worm. This is like some sort of lizard. And it had like these 2 tiny little vestigial arms and nothing else. And I'm like shouting out to my colleague up this hill because he's gone up. Yeah. I'm like, what is this? Like, should I be keeping this? Like, what have I got here? And he's like, oh, you know, it's probably, you know, whatever. It's all good. Just like get rid of it. And it was a Larista, which can be really hard to find. And it was my first one ever, and he's just like never letting me live that down. That I just was like, oh, okay, all right, no worries. Took some photos of it and just like let it back in the dirt. So that was cool.
So he didn't know. He only found out afterwards.
Yeah, he saw my photos and he was like, oh.
No.
I mean, it was a really common one, and he's seen heaps of them. But it's just one of those.
Just the species.
It's just one of those things that you don't find all the time, and you definitely don't find them all the time in pitfalls. So it was just something
seen one in my life,
different.
That's great.
Talk to Reed. He's really good at finding
Reed,
them.
yeah. I hear he's pretty good on that sort of stuff.
He's very good at finding them.
And also you said a herper. I don't think I've spoken or clarified with any of my guests so far what like herping is, because obviously when you talk to non-wildlife people, you say a herper and they're like disease.
Yeah, that's true. It needs a new name.
I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure there's a Greek or Latin root word or something like that. Yeah, from herpetology, a study of wildlife and all that. But herping, just clarifying, is when you search for specifically reptiles, and I guess you can
frogs.
And frog, yeah.
Yeah, they consider frogs in it, which they shouldn't, because I say frogging. I'm going frogging.
That's so much more clear and
it
obvious
is.
with herping. What are you doing? Frogging.
Yeah.
Oh, obviously frogs.
Yeah.
And so on with frogs, that is something that you find enjoyment.
I do.
Being that they're easier to find than said herping animals. Why is that the only reason that you like frogs? Because I remember the one time I think that we've been out looking for wildlife. You were just super excited about frogs, and surprised you weren't croaking at the end of that night. Really, all the energy you had.
I don't know. I think finding any animals is super, super exciting. I'm usually not one to catch a lot of stuff. Like, I like to really observe behaviour. With frogs, though, I get a little bit catchy.
I observe after I caught it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Frogs they're easier. That's what makes them super fun. Like I can take my partner who is in IT and take him frogging, and he'll be catching stuff and learning about things and being like, oh my God, that was so awesome. So I'm really excited to take our little girl to do that sort of stuff.
Right. Girl, okay, it's a girl. All right.
And we can do that when she's super young. And I take my niece and nephew down to the park nearby and they catch frogs, and I teach them, how you can handle them properly and which one, what's around, the different species, the different calls, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
well, and frogs, they're very all wildlife, like you said, very cool. Frogs being obviously the loudest around a water source, it definitely adds more flavour to the night air.
Except the cricket.
Except the crickets.
I've done some
crickets. Yeah, they are loud sometimes.
Katydids, they're the worst.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, so I do some bioacoustics with frogs, which is another reason I like them, because I like bioacoustics.
Right, making
really
music from frogs.
Recording frogs. So I did a little bit of that up in Ainsley Uplands, just like for fun on a project that we were on.
Yeah.
And learnt super quick like what each call was, because frogs always got that same call. It's the same timing pretty much. If you don't disturb them. So that's on a program like what you're using for this, you can really, really easily see a frog call, which is cool. I mean, you can do the same for birds, you can do the same for any animal, but frogs are very
distinct.
Yeah, and predictable. But when you get a katydid on there, that's super annoying.
Right. Yeah. Do you know why they are so much louder, or it's just because?
I think you just happen to get one that's right next to your recorder like every single time.
Yeah, and they just go off like
the
another
whole night.
Okay, right. Yeah. Frogs, really love them. Birds also, you find appreciation of them. Again,
they're easy.
They're easy. They're easy.
But they're also fun, and you get mega bird nerds that like when you actually find something cool. Like I've seen regent honeyeaters in Brisbane, and I tell that to my manager, who's like the biggest bird nerd, and that's like you get kudos. You're like, you've seen regent honeyeaters.
Yeah, right. I have only seen them along the creek line in Rainbow Beach.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's this. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same bird. But yeah, I think it's. Yeah, I think.
I only know of them really down south a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's the wrong bird then.
Maybe.
This may have been 4 years ago. I have to look at a photo afterwards to clarify and just at least know to myself that I got it wrong. All right. So you find birds, appreciate it. You appreciate them. You appreciate all wildlife. Why have you decided to go down this path in comparison to being a mechanic or something like that?
Or a journalist, like I started
Or a journalist,
doing.
Yes, you did start, and you wanted to be that TV news anchor chick.
Well, it was funny when I did journalism, because I started journalism straight out of high school, because I can write well easily, and I was like, well, that's an easy degree for me to do then. But I was always like, I'm going to write for Australian Geographic, because I want to work with animals and wildlife and stuff. And then I started working in journalism, and it's just awful ethically. I just didn't enjoy it at all. So I said to my mum, I was like, I'm going to go back to uni and do another degree. I guess I'll be a vet because what else do you do to work with animals? You're a zookeeper or you're a vet. And she was like, okay, like, yep, 100% I'll support you. I'll pay your rent, I'll make sure you can do this.
Oh, mad.
And then I couldn't get straight into vet because it's really hard. Really, really hard.
Yeah, here maths is big in that. But anyway.
You've just got OP1, and if you've done a degree already, you've got to have like crazy GPA, which I didn't have from journalism. So she found this other course, which was wildlife science.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. So I was going to do that for a year, and then I was going to transfer to vet. And then I started in wildlife science, and I think it was like my second class, and I was like, oh, okay. This is it. This is what I was meant to do the whole time. This is awesome. And the people were awesome. Everyone loved wildlife and loved, conservation and being outside and learning about animals. So, yeah, I did the whole degree, and then I couldn't really find a job afterwards. It was hard. We joke now that postgraduate degrees are the new undergrad, because like all the jobs that are out there seem to be asking for your honours or your master's degrees.
Dead set. Stuff them.
Yeah. But I ended up, so I finished the undergrad, met my best friend in that as well. And she, after like a year of being out and not getting a job, she was like, oh, why don't we do this master's degree at UQ? And I was like, okay, why not?
Just buddies, just like learning together. That's crazy.
So we did that
Uni
together.
terrifies me.
And it was amazing. Like if anyone's ever thinking of doing a master's degree in anything like wildlife related, like the conservation master's degree at UQ was incredible. I went to Solomon Islands. I went to Heron Island.
I was going to say what made it so good, but it sounds like I've never been out of Australia, so
it was
a good start.
It was really, really good. I've done some really cool things through uni. Like I've done a semester abroad in Montreal as well and learnt about placental animals in Canada.
Struth.
Which was awesome. So, yeah. Uni, I love uni.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
No, but I can pick that up from you very much.
Yeah.
I've done this.
Yeah.
I've got this degree. What degrees have you done?
So I have a BA in journalism, a BA in wildlife science, and a MA in conservation science.
Struth. Yeah,
but I'm done.
You're done now. You're done now. Yeah, that's crazy.
I did a thesis in Tasmanian devil bioacoustics. For
I
part
remember
of my
that.
Masters.
Yeah, I read your paper.
Did you read the whole thing?
I did.
Wow,
I did read
that's
the
pretty
paper.
cool. I still haven't published it. But anyway, and doing that research, like the data collection was really awesome because I did all my own data collection, but the writing was like it was full on, and it's just. I saw the people.
There were so many words you're using. I was like, "Wow, what is that word doing in life?"
I probably just used that. What is it? What is a synonym for it or something? No, I knew the words.
Okay.
But after that, I was like, yeah, I met a few people doing PhDs, and they were just hating life.
Really?
I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Damn.
I'm done with study, and now I have an awesome job, and I love it.
Yeah. You said that it was your second class. That you were doing. That's when you realized. What was it in the class? I guess that really made that click for you.
I'm not sure. I can't even remember. I just remember it being first semester and being like, oh, I don't want to do anything else but this. I had a really cool lecturer at the time there as well that was really passionate about, students and getting them into the career, like into wildlife careers. So he spoke a lot at some of our like orientation classes, and that was pretty inspiring at the time.
Yeah.
But just knowing that there were jobs that you could do that weren't vet or zookeeper, which I think if I'd have been told in high school that was fine, then I would have started the career a lot earlier. Yeah. But we all find our way.
Yeah. Eventually, when you keep on searching.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was really just the passion of your lecturer that really kind of spoke to your heart because you wanted to do wildlife. You didn't grow up with any animals.
Just dogs and stuff.
Just dogs, yeah.
I ask my mum all the time. I'm like, did I love animals and
was
nature
I
as a kid?
born like in a pond?
Yeah. And she's like, no, you didn't care. And I'm like, whatever. Like I used to swim around my grandma's pool and just save ants and bees and stuff out of the pool because I'm an only child. I have this just like I loved doing it so much. I would spend like 4 hours just swimming around this pool, just saving things out of the pool.
Right. That's how big's this pool?
It was tiny.
I was gonna say, where's these bugs coming from?
A lot of trees overhanging.
4 hours swimming.
Well, I would do something
like
else
wrinkly
for a while.
as heck, and then there's like this bees just like flying in like missiles.
Look, I really love water.
They need traffic lights for the air of the bugs and things. You know what I'm saying? Like they go and then the bees just crash into each other. Gosh darn.
I've got really good techniques for getting bees out of pools.
Okay, what's this technique?
Well, as in like, because you don't want to like the bee to touch you in case it freaks out and stings you and then dies anyway. Yeah. So you have to like scoop the water from under the bee and then flop it out. Right.
I see the technique. I see the technique. I actually found out with bees, they
European honeybees.
Yeah, is it just Europeans? Because we're on the same wavelength here. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, European honeybees, for the listener, if they did not know, they can sting you, and as long as their stinger comes back with them when they leave, they can keep their life. Because I've had personal experience with this. Because like literally only a week and a half after hearing this fact, I was like, huh, interesting. I was down in Victoria on my grand's property. On the back of a car, on this hill. There's no freaking flowers anywhere. And this bee just comes flying around. And then I was like, oh, okay, stay still, pretend I'm dead. And then he landed on me. I was like, don't you do it. And then he stung me. I didn't do anything. I stayed completely still. I was so still, okay? I know how to stay still. And yeah, he stung me. I was like, okay, that hurt. And then I just watched him just take it out and freaking nick off. I was like, well, I guess it's true.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, that it hurt, but it was cool. I mean, it was a good learning experience, I guess.
You know, the only two things I'm scared of in the field are European honeybees and wasps. Like, I just don't want to get stung.
Have you had, when you were fauna spotting, did you ever have any encounters with Europeans?
Oh, not Europeans,
Just
not
natives?
bad ones.
Yeah.
But wasps. I remember my first wasp experience. I had a tree was felled and it had a wasp nest in it, and I was like, oh, everyone stay clear. And I was doing just like a perimeter search around the tree, heading back to the office, just like double checking nothing had come out, and just got tagged like 4 times around my eyes
Truth.
from wasps. And I was fine, had no reaction.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I was like, and my boss at the time was like, oh yeah, you needed to not walk near the tree. It's like, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Boss, for telling me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I think I've seen wasps, like a wasp nest, once or twice. I don't see them very
like the
often.
paper wasp nest.
No, like the wasp that like is like the nest is like this big and is like on the side of a tree. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what species it is, but it's big ass wasps. But yeah, there's the bees. Had a tree fall down, and this tree looked amazing. I was like, okay, there's not many trees around. There's got to be something here. So the tree falls down at the second that it lands, and there's no sticks flying in my direction. I'm in there. I can't see. There's dust. And then I see, as I'm getting closer, this cluster of black flying things. I was like, that's not normal. And I turned on my heels fairly fast and went the other direction. And I was like on the radio, I was like, yeah, okay, guys, we ain't touching this sucker. And I go around, I'm standing off in the distance watching. And then this bee, one singular rogue, I'm John Wick bee, comes flying at me and beelined it for my head and stuck me right between the eyes. And I was like a distance away, and I saw him go this way and then turn at me. So I don't know what they're feeding bees these days, but there's some home-seeking, people-eating bees, something out there.
See, people need to stop having bees, European honeybees, in their yards.
Yeah.
Like, stop buying the hives.
People buy hives for it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
straight.
Get native hives.
Yeah.
They're way cooler anyway.
100%, because you don't get stung.
Yeah.
And you can enjoy it apart from them going into your ears and all that uncomfortableness.
And also, like, they don't make as much honey, but,
No.
you know...
But you
That-
don't.
that's
But
a
you
lot of
won't.
sugar.
But you won't get like an anaphylactic reaction and then die. So
Yes.
I feel like there's a very good reason not to have European honeybees and keep them natives. Bees. What aside? With your future, moving forwards, you've done your 3 degrees. You've done journalism. You're a fauna ecologist now. Is there a field that you're looking to step into, or an end goal in the realm of nature that you would like to get to?
Yeah, definitely. In the short term, I have been trained as a drone pilot now. So
that's right, that's
we
cool.
want we want to start utilizing that a little bit more to actually, use thermo stuff. I can't remember the name of it, to actually look for animals.
Terminology.
Yeah. Actually use my drone license. We do have drone pilots in the business already, but they are part of the carbon team in our business. So that's not fauna. Also doing bioacoustics a bit more. So we're just about to do a project using bioacoustics for Wallam sedge frogs and Wallam froglets. So that'll be really cool. I don't actually get to do the field work myself because of my current situation.
Yeah.
But I do get to analyze the data, so that'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun data, not
Right.
just numbers.
Right.
And figure out a program to try and automate that to make it a bit faster too. So getting my head around all that sort of stuff would be really cool. I really want to get into arboreal camera trapping.
So you have to climb trees.
Yes. So I want to get trained in tree climbing.
Yeah, right.
So I can actually put the camera traps up, and then you would bait those, and you would try and get birds and gliders and that sort of thing, and anything else that hangs out in trees. So yeah, they're my 3 soon, like the next 2 years. Want to get really good at
Okay.
that. Eventually, I mean, I would love to work for like AWC or Bush Heritage Australia or something like that for a while. I don't mind if I never do, but it would be cool.
It would be. It would definitely be a nice extra shine to add.
Yeah. I got a friend of mine that works for AWC and he loves it.
Yeah.
And eventually we want to, have our own big property up north a bit more, close to the reef, so I can go diving all the time.
Oh, yeah. Because you've also got your driver's license as well,
Yes.
don't you?
Yeah.
Golly goodness.
Yeah. That's where I meditate
Yeah.
under the sea.
You can really focus on not breathing.
Yeah, no, it's that could be a whole podcast in itself, is diving. But
Might need to.
I'm thinking I've met some really cool botanists that are consultants. So they just have their own little consulting business. They just hire themselves out for a week and go out and do what they love, collect field data, come back, give the data to the company, and then they go and do the next one. So I'm really interested in possibly doing something like that with fauna.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to the stage where I can just offer my services,
Yeah.
doing exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
So no Elliot traps. And just going out to different projects and doing the fauna data collection,
Yeah.
bit of report writing if needed, but essentially work for myself from my own home,
Yeah, awesome.
and picking what I want to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good goal. It's a
Yeah.
good goal to be able to try and run your own life a little bit.
Yeah. And then we've always had the little like ecotourism dream that we'd love to have a big property where you've got some little houses on there and take people out on little tours if they want to go on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out. Yeah. Well, it's good to know I'm not the only one that has those ideas. Sounds like there's going to be a bit of competition in my future.
Yeah, just don't go around like the Agnes Waters area, okay?
Stay away from Agnes Waters. Yeah, I could potentially do that. So with these extras that you've done, you've these extra side things are being drone piloting,
Mm-hmm.
and your. Why am I having I'm thinking submarining. It's
I've
diving.
actually done underwater drone piloting as well.
Dead set.
Yeah, that was really
What?
cool.
No
Yeah.
way.
Because when I did
What
this,
was that for?
because I was working for Science Under Sail for a while, and we sailed the GBR doing coral surveys and seagrass surveys. But you can obviously only free dive to a certain depth when you're not a professional free diver.
Right.
So my depth is embarrassingly not very deep, so I won't even say what it is. But we're taking high school students out the whole time as well, and teaching them about marine ecology and that sort of thing. So we can't expect people to be doing 20-meter dives. So for those sort of depths, we would just send down this little drone and drive it from the boat, and it has a camera on the front, and you can see down to the bottom. You can see there's seagrass around. You can identify the species, see how it's doing, and then bring it back up.
Yeah, mad.
It was really cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
And they're getting awesome now.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Like the quality of the drones.
The video of the drones,
Yep.
how you can control it.
Yep, right.
The technology that goes with it. Like they're getting really, really good.
Okay.
It might eliminate our need to go in the water, which I don't want to
Yeah,
happen.
well, the need is always going to be there
Yeah.
because I need to go. I got to see. So you say mentioned momentarily that that the underwater world is your happy place.
It is.
Why is it your happy place? Why do you find calmness?
You don't dive,
below?
do you?
No, I don't. I have said I wanted to. I want to dive, but
I don't think anyone
not
that would
without
dive.
a snorkel.
Yeah.
A snorkel air tank. Yeah.
It is just a whole different world. Like someone's once asked me if I've ever had that David Attenborough moment. And I feel like I get that every single time I dive, because all you can hear is like the sound of your own breath, which is really calming. And then you hear just like the sounds of what is happening in the ocean, which is usually like fish biting at coral.
Yeah.
Which is a really fun noise as well. You can tune into that and be like, oh, that's cool. But like just getting completely lost in, I guess, silence essentially, but then having all this cool stuff around you.
Right.
And as soon as you like tune into the different colors and shapes and everything of the coral, and you can start differentiating like what's actually there. So I'm obsessed with finding nudibranchs now. I just like want to find as many as I can.
And them cute little suckers, right?
Yeah.
Cuties. Yeah.
So I haven't been able to go for like 7 months now, which I'm dying, but
I've never been, so I'm dead.
yeah.
I snorkeled a little bit. Like I did a trip to, I mean, nothing in comparison to what you're expressing, but I went to the lower portals up at Mount Barney and tried to get to the bottom of that hole. I don't know if I couldn't find no literature explaining how deep that hole is, but holy smokes, I couldn't find the bottom. It was so deep, and my head was hurting. Went there again afterwards. It was a bit more colder. The water was so cold that I got a brain freeze from the external water.
What?
Yeah, and I got out of my head up above water. I was like slightly disorientated. It was quite interesting, an interesting experience. But I would like to definitely get out more so in those amazing environments. But
you might enjoy freediving.
I would enjoy. Possibly.
There's some really cool courses on freediving that you can do around here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then they just tell you to hold your breath under the water.
They teach you how to do it better.
And breathe.
Yes.
Yeah. I could probably use a bit of breathing technique increasing anyway, just for general health. But that's I can see why and how you'd find that quite peaceful. I kind of think in my head, just kind of imagining it. I'm getting excited, but I can't even do it. That's not even fair. Getting myself excited over nothing.
Diving's awesome.
Yeah.
If you're not afraid of the ocean, I know a lot of people are. Go dive.
Oh, I don't like sharks. Can you tell me why I shouldn't be afraid of sharks?
Why?
Well, why? The reason being is because I can't run in water. I don't know if you've tried running in water. Really hard. And because on land, I know I can outrun anything in Australia. Okay, anything, I got it covered. But in the water, I've had moments where I was close to drowning, and so when I was a kid, and also recently, and that was not a good experience. So yeah, what would you say to someone who's not the keenest on sharks?
I think you already kind of explained it yourself then by saying that you know that you can outrun everything on land because you're educated on what's here. So you're educated on terrestrial animals. So my key thing is education. Like know what's in the area, what shark behavior is like. There's plenty of cool people out there that are doing shark diving properly, not just like tourism related, but doing it properly.
Shark jumps in the water.
Yeah, and actually giving people education about sharks. But so many of the sharks that you actually see around a reef are super chill. Like don't annoy them. Like you're not going to go and pull on a shark's tail.
Did that once. No,
but I mean, the ones that I come across a lot are like leopard sharks, which are super chill. Like, they're fine. Black tip reef sharks, white tips, that sort of thing. Just don't stuff around with them.
Yeah, right. I've stuffed around with little wobbegons before. I've caught...
You can still cop a bite of a wobbegong.
Yeah, well, I found that out after I'd caught like 6. Like I was snorkeling. I was like 13, like near my 13th birthday. Went out snorkeling and like I was like, oh, shark! I can catch this. If I catch if I can catch a goanna on land, I can catch a shark underwater. I did. I found out, not through experience, that they've got teeth, but afterwards. that they've got teeth, and I was like, oh, that could have actually sucked.
Well, that's the other thing with being underwater is you generally don't catch anything, so it's just a lot of observation, whereas I know you like to catch things on land. So you'd really have to like bring that part of yourself down and just observe.
Yeah, generally I yeah, you're right. Generally, yes, you are very much right. Yeah, that was like very much me. Anything I saw move when I was young, I was like, hey. Then I can say I caught it. Like I was telling one of the podcast guests that I caught an ibis once. Okay, I was like 14, 16. What? Yeah, well, because it's an ibis. Like it's just a bird you see every time. There's bin chicken, and I did not know like the ferocious sound that they make. It's just it's a car alarm on a bird. And I was in not Sunnybank, Rainbank, Sunbank. In the Brisbane city.
Oh, South Bank. Called an ibis in South Bank.
Yeah,
Did
I
people
did.
applaud you?
Oh no, I made I was getting older enough to realize that people probably wouldn't approve, so I did it in a specific
So
place.
you really knew it was wrong.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I knew that people didn't like it,
Okay.
and that was the difference. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, point being, yes, I would like to eventually get out and dive, but for someone who would like to do what you do now, do you have any tips on how best to go about that to save as much time for said person?
Yes, definitely. So when I started doing my undergrad, I was told, volunteer every weekend, volunteer. And I did do that a lot. And it was good in that I got a lot of experience with different sectors. So I did, some captive animal stuff. I learned, I was obsessed with orangutans when I first started. I was like, I'm going to work with orangutans. I'm going to be
a
like
lot of those in Australia.
The next bird. Yeah. And then ended up volunteering with Tasmanian devils and quolls and being like, like Australian animals are like the coolest in the world. And I don't want to work with primates. I want to work with these. So volunteering easily led me to like discover things that I loved and what I didn't like. But I also did a lot of volunteering so that I could fill my resume. And I don't think that's the right way to go about it. Okay. Like, do a lot of volunteering for the experiences. Don't continue with stuff that you don't love. Do continue with stuff that you really do enjoy so you can learn more about it. But it's also a lot about networking. Like, you're volunteering to network. I know a lot of people at the RSPCA Wildlife Hospital that got their jobs because they volunteered there for ages. But I didn't really love just looking after sick animals there. Not my thing. But to work with Science Under Sail with Dr. James Udy, I volunteered on the boat to help high school students for a week. And, we clicked really well and I ended up getting paid work with him, which, then I got him on my resume and that sort of thing. So it all kind of led one thing to another. So same thing for my thesis. I volunteered at Devils at Cradle in Tasmania, got to know the owner really well, and then it was fine for me to come down and do as much data collection as I wanted to and stay in the house on the property and look after devil joeys and quoll joeys for a week and wombat joeys and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'd say definitely volunteer, but not for the wrong reasons. Right. It doesn't help on the resume. It doesn't. And then I would say get your certificates, as annoying as they are. Get your snake catching certificate. Get your white card. What's the other one that you really need to get?
Working at heights, confined space.
Yeah, I mean, they're not that helpful. I'm thinking of another one. Anyway, doesn't matter. Get your certificates. Oh, like first aid, CPR.
Yes, that is important.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
And
yes,
then
it does.
go do fauna spotting.
Yeah.
It is such a good thing to do to get experience with different animals, like how to hold things, how to capture things, how to work on a job site with people.
Yes, that is important.
That is huge because so much of this industry is interconnected with the development industry and mining industries. And if you've worked on a job site in urban areas, it's very similar out in like mining areas. Like it's just, things change a little bit.
Diggers.
It's bigger. Yeah. So do fauna spotting. You might turn out that you absolutely love it and that's what you want to do. But for me, I didn't love it, but it was something that was paid work that I could put on my resume. Yeah. That then led me to get the next job. Yeah. And then I'd say if you really love it and you're passionate, you're dedicated, then take jobs that are inconvenient for you. Okay. I took a job as a ranger out in Toowoomba. So I drove an hour and 15 minutes each way to Toowoomba and back just so I could get some experience with working in Queensland government as a ranger because this is the career that I want to be in. And I'm not going to say no to a job because it's a little bit inconvenient for me for a while. And eventually I ended up being able to work from home anyway, so it was fine. But yeah, they'd be my main things that I'd say to be able to actually break into the industry. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Because from my understanding, there's so many people that do degrees and then they
finish their degree thinking that they're going to have a job or they hope to have a job. This is the story I hear. And then they have no job. So how about to get the way to go about getting that job is very helpful. So thanks.
Yeah.
But now we're going to go on to the Spitfire questions.
Okay.
Overrated, underrated. These are a couple I prepared earlier. Okay. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. Number 1, overrated, underrated, the importance of long-term ecological monitoring for conservation management decisions.
Underrated.
Okay. Why is it
Why?
underrated? Why
Well,
has it been underrated?
I think that we concentrate too much on short-term goals. So, a short-term goal is like 10 years. So long-term is really looking at that 30, 40, 50 years sort of thing because, like you can protect habitat for 10 years, but then if we just disregard it and not monitor it after the 10 years, and it just becomes a free-for-all for other companies to go for or landholders to do whatever they want. I mean, data collection is a long-term thing.
Yeah.
So
which we kind of actually touched on before we started, just about that, again, that word.
Offsetting,
thank you. The offsetting of that 30 years, all that sort of stuff. Okay. Number 2, overrated, underrated, the importance of ecotourism.
Oh, I don't think it's probably underrated. That's a controversial question, I think.
Really? Oh, I didn't have my foot in it.
No, it was people feel very passionate about certain types of ecotourism. Like take the shark stuff that we were talking about before, like doing shark diving with people that don't know anything about sharks for a monetary benefit, but also for education at the same time. Like some of those people are out there like really educating people, but then they get this backlash because they're touching sharks and they're putting people into dangerous situations. There's also, in some countries where they're using ecotourism to make money, and it can seem really good from the outside, but where's that money actually going? So you really need to look in depthly about where you're actually putting your money.
Okay.
And it can be the same for Australia as well.
Yep.
But I think it's underrated because it, even zoos, for example, people seem to think not highly of zoos, but zoos educate people like crazy, like so much education for kids and adults, and then heaps of money goes into conservation as well from zoos. So underrated.
Okay. Number 3, overrated, underrated, heat signature equipment in the field.
Okay, so I have this discussion with my partner because he is a hunter and he hunts deer in Australia. And he wants to get a thermal so that he can go
thermal
out.
sight?
Yeah. So he can go out and find deer really easily.
At nighttime.
Yeah. And he's like, then we can use it for frogs and stuff as well. He's looked up how you can change it to look for frogs. So you're looking for the cold signature when it's hot outside. And I'm like, it's cheating.
If you find more species.
No, but I'm like, half the fun is that you're looking for something that's cryptic, that's hard to find. And I'm saying that as because I love frogs because they're easy to find.
Yeah.
But I feel like it would really take away the joy of going out specifically to look for something and then finding it, using your own ability to spotlight properly or something like that. And just using heat signature.
Right. Okay.
If I'm surveying.
So recreationally.
I'm talking recreationally.
Yep.
Because he calls, he says using it for deer hunting is like shooting fish in a barrel. And I'm like, doesn't that take away some of the fun of the hunt?
Yeah.
But that's him, whatever, he does him. But using it for work, for surveying, 100% I would use it.
Okay.
Because then your detection rate's going up.
Yep.
And, for my sort of work, if there's EVNT species around, I have to find them.
Mm-hmm. And does heat signature equipment actually help?
We were going to get them when I was working up north. So I was in, around the Ainsley Uplands. So that's 8 hours west of Townsville, for anyone that doesn't know. And
I didn't know.
my colleagues had used it before I started, and they said that it couldn't differentiate after dark because the ground was so hot. Everything was still so hot. It was like 38, 40 degree days. So it's not much difference. But if you get up really early in the morning, I think it's meant to work really well because everything's cooled down, but you've still got hot body temperatures.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it works well.
Okay.
I mean, it works really well for drones and koalas. So
Okay. Number 4, the known impact of invasive species on the environment.
underrated. Have I just said underrated to everything?
Yeah. We'll find out soon enough, I guess.
I mean, yeah, super underrated.
Okay.
I can't believe how many invasive species are actually, not just fauna, but plant species are actually out just like on people's properties, just completely taking over areas until you're out with a botanist and they're like, oh yeah, that entire field of grass is non-native.
Truth.
Yeah. And then that isn't just like affecting, the fact that native species can't grow there and can't recruit in that area, but it's also affecting, diamond firetails that need to eat native grass seeds and can't eat these exotic species and stuff. So then their populations are declining because of that. So there are huge knock-on effects of something as simple as buffel grass that we're just not aware of.
Right.
And, I looked at a property the other day to buy and it was like spruiking, that's the word, yeah, spruiking all these non-native grasses that were on the property that were good cattle feed. And it was like 5 non-native species. And my ecologist brain goes, that sounds like shit. I don't want a property like that. That sounds awful. So yeah, very, very underrated.
Right, okay. Number 5, running backwards to get better at reverse parking.
Yeah, overrated.
Yeah, overrated. That's fair.
Hey, if you're really good at reverse parking, you're just good at it, and I'm really good at it. So.
Okay, no need to run backwards. Number 6, final one. The incorporation of traditional ecological knowledge and practices into research and field capability.
Yeah, underrated, but I think we are adjusting more and more. At our company, we have a RAP team. So, RAP, is it? Oh, I'm not part of the team. And it's a reconciliation team. So, actually trying to work with traditional owners of country and learn more about, practices that they have used for thousands of years. And it's really hard actually finding people. So we tried to organize a bush foods workshop recently for all of our employees, and
so cool.
Yeah,
just
super
invite me,
cool.
Bro. Love to know.
Well, it's also like we do these bird surveys down near the New South Wales border with another company as well. That's a non-for-profit. And they are continuous ongoing bird surveys that are happening for like 30 years. We do them 4 times a year. So part of that process is having a native bush foods workshop on and trying to find someone to run that. It was like we've had to postpone it like 4 times now.
Yeah, right.
Because it's just super hard to find anyone with local knowledge that would help us do that.
Has the knowledge and is willing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But that's not really my department.
Yeah.
I'm only really starting to dip my toes into it, so I don't want to talk out of place.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's very fair. Understandable. Thank you for answering the questions and also for coming on the podcast. It's been great fun. You are just a box full of knowledge, and I reckon could have definitely spoken more. Thanks for coming on, and I look forward to hearing all the other stories that you have off camera too, and forever whenever we go frog hunting, maybe. So, anyway, thanks for listening, y'all. I'll speak to you later. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you would like more information, head over to www.thebigsmall.au and make sure to subscribe, like, or rate on whatever platform you're listening on, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.